All right, we got few questions about the anti-trans bill that was passed in Tennessee, which also includes a provision that says any subsequent gender expression subjectively deemed inconsistent with their genitals from birth can be fined for up a year into prison. And I believe that also extends to, if I'm correct, interracial marriage as well. And people are like so shocked about that now, as if that wasn't the whole fucking plan.
I definitely, I definitely was right. I just want to say this. I said all this when they put out the opinion, because they said all this in the fucking opinion. When they overturned Roe, they said as much. They had a whole discussion about unraveling everything that comes from Griswold versus Connecticut, which is where the right to an abortion is originally stems from. This was always the plan. This country is it's a Mickey Mouse operation. I keep saying that. Like, it's just a Mickey Mouse operation. This is not, you cannot even feel, it's not even bothering to go for the charade of a democracy at this point, because this can't be real life, right? Like, all over the country is literally just blatant discrimination, white supremacy, just hate, just legally sanctioning discrimination. That's all it is. And that's why I've said before a million times, it's a mistake to view the law or view the courts as a champion of civil liberties. That is not the case. What the law has often, mostly what it is there to do, is to sanction the bullshit that the rest of the society is on. And that's what you're seeing on steroids, right? And the problem is, to let you know further that the whole system is a farce. There's no sense of democracy, because it's not like Republicans do all these things through legitimate, because they reflect the majority of the country. They reflect a significant amount of chunk of people. I'm not gonna hold you now. They do reflect a bunch of terrible fucking people, but not the majority of the country, in the sense of what they do is they usurp, they gerrymander all over the goddamn place. They circumvent everything, and they do their endeavor best. And so they wield power they're not supposed to, and they just trample over people. And we're seeing that on fucking steroids. And that's the reason, my mentor was having a conversation with me yesterday. He's like, people don't talk enough about the fact that the reason why Republicans have to steal everything, they have to steal elections, is because they can't fucking win. You know what I mean? They can't win. And the fact that you have a two-party system, and one of those parties could not win the fucking popular vote. Republicans can't win the popular vote in this current time of life. They can't. They cannot do it. So what they do is they just go around and they make a small minority of what is people in their viewpoint reflect everybody else, and they force everybody by tooth and nail. Is sick. It's fucking sick.
Yeah, on the subject of Tennessee, by the way, I don't know if people know this, but Tennessee is currently the anti-LGBTQ capital in the country, with, I believe, 26 or 28 current anti-LGBTQ plus bills being considered as we speak. But what I love is that the universe kind of has a funny way of catching up with people sometimes.
Sure.
So last week, they signed an anti-drag queen bill into law in Tennessee. What happened? Well, the governor had a photo emerge of him as a drag queen in high school. This week, the lieutenant governor, who supported that same anti-drag queen bill, well, it turns out that he was posting on his main on a gay twink's thirst traps on Instagram. That came out, and he listen, I have to explain this for you. Okay. So the defense here, let me paint the picture. We can't put the pictures up on screen. I'm doing a video on this tomorrow, by the way.
Yes.
But so basically, they defended him, saying, this is ridiculous. He is a 79-year-old great-grandfather. This is innocent. This is innocuous. Let me paint this picture for you. There's a dude with an ass picture, camera with the ass up, him looking down, and what does this old man comment? Heart emoji, fire emoji, hand clapping emoji. It's not grandpa just being like, oh, great job, son. Like, the dude is taking pictures in underwear with his ass hanging out, and he's like, great fit, or super cool look. It's like he's horny posting on the main. You don't get to use that excuse. So watch my video tomorrow. It is genuinely unhinged. So all of these motherfuckers in Tennessee who are doing all of these anti-LGBTQ plus bills, they're all gay and horny. That's why they can't stop thinking about gay people.
It's just crazy that they're not that this guy. I mean, I guess it's not surprising. We're talking about someone who is not that everyone who's older doesn't know technology, but if you're gonna make a mistake like that, how does he not know what he's doing? That's completely public.
When you see the 3 hearts and the 3 fire emojis to an underwear pic, he knows what he's doing. Grandpa knows what he's doing.
I'm just like
Everybody goes
the
on me.
idea of like a great grandfather using fire emojis is like just that alone for me. It's just like-
I think to me, what I think what this is truly like a representation of what it means to truly like have power and just to occupy a seat for a moment, right? When you look at, someone asked in the comments, they said, isn't Clarence Thomas married to a white woman? And he is, Ginny Thomas, right? And I think the difference between when you look at this, you could see all these Republicans find all these like incredibly right-wing Republicans passing all these homophobic and transphobic laws and stuff, and they can do, despite the fact that when it comes out, right, what they are engaging in their private life, because at the end of the day, these white people are able to be above the law. They occupy, it doesn't matter. They are exempt from this. This doesn't apply to them, right? But even though Clarence Thomas occupies a seat in power, Clarence Thomas made sure to, in that opinion, in his concurrence in the case overturning Roe, he made it a point to outline every single right, every right that descended from Griswold versus Connecticut that should be overturned, should be revisited, except Loving versus Virginia, that granted that made it a constitutional right to be engaged in interracial marriages, right? Because at the end of the day, he cannot afford, with his black ass, he knows good and damn well that he cannot go restructure a world that is going to harm him. He has to make sure he has to make that carve out, because he can never truly be above it. And I think that's an interesting thing when I hear it, what I take away in this conversation about how the difference in how they move, and they're all fucked up. But it's just interesting to recognize, because even though Clarence Thomas is somebody you insist on cooning and not acknowledging the racism of it all, right? Because that's not the team he's chosen. He's still occupied. He still has to navigate and work within that system. Like, it's there, whether or not he admits it. It's transparent in the way that he has to act, because you want to pretend like, oh, it's not racist and all this and blah, 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 but you have to make the carve out. You have to still navigate that racism. So, I keep trying to tell people that don't pay the coon,
Mike, I wanted to ask you, because this video is coming out tomorrow. Do you talk at all about Michael Knowles being one of the people who obviously is asking for the elimination of trans people from existing, transgenderism, quote unquote, but also saying that all drag queens are groomers and all drag performers are groomers. Did you see that he's a drag performer?
I saw that.
He not only loves drag performing, but he's done it multiple times. He dressed up as Elizabeth Warren in a very racist costume, and so it seems like he's also a huge fan of hashtag Lady MAGA, who is also a drag performer.
Here's what I'll say. In Michael Knowles' defense, if I looked that bad in drag, I would want to ban drag too. So, with the beard, I could rock it better than him.
I was really wondering where you were going with in Michael Knowles' defense. I was like, whoa, what's going on here?
I mean, it's the same with Governor Bill Lee. Like, I don't know if you all saw the photograph. So this is the Tennessee, going back to Tennessee, this is the governor who signed the anti-drag bill into law. The photograph of him in drag in high school, I mean, it's the ugliest fucking drag queen I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's black and white. Like, he's making like this goofy ass face. Like, they're sad that they can't crush it like other drag queens. That's why they have to ban it.
That's true.
It's so sad. Bro, it is so sad. People really make a circus out of politics, and it's crazy, because there's a whole country of like all kind of shit happening, just a million like issues and serious problems. Like, there is no shortage of that, but the entire media wave and everything just gets like fixated on what are literally manufactured narratives just to distract people in foolishness. And it's so nauseating not to be a part of it, because at the end of the day, it's so fucked up realizing this huge country and millions and millions and millions and millions of people will spend their lives will be forever changed based on what people can do within one span of a lifetime, right? It'll take you how long to undo the foolishness that they're doing right now. It's like, it'll get undone eventually, perhaps, but what'll happen in the fucking midst? And there's nothing that you could do about that. Like, lives will be lost. That is what's going to happen with all the foolishness that they're doing. And not just like, I don't mean just with like the particular things and how they're attacking these particular laws, but all the millions of things they're doing that we're not hearing about and talking about, because they're distracting everybody with bullshit and manufactured fucking problems. It's sad. It's really, really, really sad. It's sad.
Well, and it's
On
like,
that point, I have
you hear about how,
ahead.
well, they just, everyone's so hyper focused on identity politics. Who's the ones who's focused on identity politics? It's the Republicans. We're just responding. I mean, I don't want to, I'm literally in a gay marriage. I don't want to talk about gay marriage in the year 2023. I want to move the fuck on and talk about healthcare. I want to talk about taking on capitalism, having workers have more control of the means of production. They're the ones keeping us here. So you can't blame us for responding and fighting back and fighting to keep all of the gains that we've made. It's just the situation. These are the cards that we've been dealt. People will bring up, oh, everybody's talking about trans people. Who's talking about trans people? It's the right who's talking about trans people.
Overwhelmingly, if you look at the stats on Facebook, it's it's such a fucking huge ass market. Oh yeah, it's currency
insane.
over there.
Trans people have been around forever. All of a sudden, Republicans made this into an issue. With regard to drag queens, again, I think I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but the Washington Post did an analysis, and there was no anti-drag queen bills for 2015, 2016, 2017. The first bill was in 2022, end of 2022. All of a sudden, there's this huge urgency to ban drag queens. So, I mean, this is a manufactured issue, as Ole said, and people need to get frustrated with Republicans and not the leftist identitarians, because we're not the ones who are raising the salience of these issues. We're just responding to this. We've got to keep the gains that we've made, so we have to fight. We have no choice.